Stephanie Bell.
Facing the future without fear.
The Zimmer News Team.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, these people want to literally redistribute the wealth.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
We have had to have that exact same conversation. We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be made. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations.
Well, it wasn't a matter of if, but when, wasn't it? Graham Plattner announces in a long, 14-minute to 11-minute video yesterday that he is suspending. He's angry. He's angry at the Democrats in Maine. He's angry at the power apparatchiks, as he says, that ushered him out of the primary and out of the nomination for the Senate seat up there to oppose Susan Collins. And it's all done. So what's next? Who knows? I guess they're going to have a small campaign, small convention. Stephanie Bell, you're going to have the answer to this one. How do they do a small convention in, what is today? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? Do they have to have someone by Monday?
They have to have someone by Monday.
How's that working out for them?
Well, it sounds like they're going to have a long weekend.
Maybe they should Kamala-ize this one. Well, I guess that's what people wanted with Kamala, right? They wanted a convention. They didn't get one. So, we'll have to see what happens with this. But
yeah, I mean, it's a crazy turn of events. I mean, imagine you're the primary candidate. You get more than 70% of the vote. You're the Democrats' hot new thing. You are their best chance to win the U.S. Senate. Yep. And then within days, your whole campaign comes crashing down. And yeah, it's interesting because that video is super long, but he's blaming, the establishment is after me. And it's like, well, without really taking any accountability for, what appears to be a pattern of personal misbehavior and, potentially crimes.
And John Marsh, I don't think this was any surprise that it was going to happen. The question is, he now seems to be absolutely going after everyone. I think it's interesting. Instead of saying, well, okay, I'm going to back whoever the party's after. I mean, he's really making it clear that there is a chasm in what used to be a large tent of progressives with some squad people and the Democrats. And now he's like a movement to pretty much blow up the Democrat Party, at least in Maine.
Well, I think you initially said it wasn't a question of, if. It was a question of when. And, he can probably float all the comments he wants out there about, the dysfunctional party and all that. It's like he's done, on to the next one. And, the pollsters all predicting that Susan Collins will get reelected in Maine and it'll be business as usual.
I think so. I mean, she was leading by a couple points in the polls right before he, earlier this week, at least in many of the polls. So, hopefully this is one that is going to be taken off the table, Steph, that maybe they were hoping on flipping, right?
Yeah, and you just have to wonder, I don't know the answer to this, but how deep is their bench in Maine? We talk about it a lot here in Missouri. We have a very deep bench. Every time one of our, we've only had this kind of issue where somebody basically resigned, not withdrew. But we have had a lot of folks get elected to higher office, and the governor it's always a tough decision for him on who to pick. We've got so many other talented candidates. It's like he could pick this person or this person or this person. I mean, we have a deep bench of talented people here in Missouri. The question is for Democrats, and I think a lot of those people, as we've seen both Parson and Kehoe bring people into the statewide offices, they're generally on the same page. So the question is, what does that bench look like, if there's any at all, in Maine? And then also, they have kind of a split bench, right? It doesn't appear they're all on the same team. Are they going to be DSA, super left? Are they going to be more establishment? And so that makes it tough for the folks that are going to have to be picking someone over the weekend.
They keep mentioning the former Senate president, Troy, what was his name? Troy Jackson or something, saying he was running until Plattner dropped out. And then there was a few other names. I think their Secretary of State was in the mix. But, yeah, they just seem so divided, before and after this whole thing with Plattner.
Well, and they're talking about a guy that I don't know if it's that one or the former speaker or someone who may be more progressive than he, or at least as socialist as he. So, well, let Maine be Maine. That's Maine. Iran, on the other hand, is another mess that I think is now festering even more overnight. More attacks on the ships in the Strait and attacks by the U.S. on a couple of bridges and more civilian assets in
a port.
Yep. And attacks on Qatar and Bahrain and other, neighboring Arab states, which now we're back to, it seems like we're back to where we were. We keep circling back in this cycle of retribution, and then, this MOU thing seems to be absolutely falling apart. I don't want to say I told you so, but I mean, don't many of us feel that way today? That it was just a matter of, when are we going to finally bring down the hammer? I don't think that was any secret.
Well, pretty much what Colonel Booch told us the last time he was on with us, military analyst Steve Booch. He was like, go kinetic again and finish it.
And he'll be with us at a little after 8 o'clock. 7:35, Representative Don Mayhew joins us. He, as you mentioned yesterday when we were talking with the governor, John, he requested a special session for data centers, and so we'll get his take on the whole data center controversy. There's a lot of disagreement on data centers, not only in Missouri, across the country. I mean, in various pockets, not so much in New Florence, where they're going to bring a big center in. That's still active, right? The Google.
Yeah, two of them.
16,
Google and Amazon both.
Yeah.
Right.
Across the highway from each other.
$16 billion for Google. I don't know what the Amazon. So is Amazon a distribution center or a data center?
A data center.
For their web services? I'll be darned. Or for whatever, maybe for their AI. Wow.
I mean, I think Governor Kehoe had an interesting take on it. AI is not going away, right? It's only getting bigger, and, there are opportunities for our state there. B, it might not be right for every community, and so, it's coming. We should embrace it, but we should make the decision smartly, and I think that's what you've seen so far from the Kehoe administration, and they've got he had his executive order on AI, and you've seen some of these big projects land in Missouri, and they mean big time construction jobs, and oftentimes high paying ongoing, and certainly high paying ongoing jobs.
It was interesting too that he mentioned to us that piece of legislation is now law that basically protects the consumers there from having to foot the bill for construction on these big presumed data centers and all, and that new law is on the books. And he also talked about the big ones, especially Google and Amazon, not getting with economic development to take advantage of all that stuff. And I think the governor's line was Missouri really at this point doesn't have any skin in the game.
So the only skin they have in the game is that, I mean, what are those guardrails specifically?
Senate Bill 4 essentially had a provision that said that they should pay their own way. It's consistent with the main principles of utility regulation, which means that each class, each type of customer pays for their burden on the system. And there's some additional guardrails about upfront payments, security, collateral, that kind of thing. But last year, actually, one of our utilities, Liberty, down in the southwest part of the state, is in for a case right now. Last year, both Ameren and Evergy went before the Public Service Commission in response to Senate Bill 4 and proposed a new tariff that just covers large loads. And I don't know how many parties participated in that case, maybe 10 to 15. A lot of parties, from the commission staff to the OPC, which represents residential customers, to a bunch of consumer groups, to the end users themselves, participated and went before the Public Service Commission to say, here's how we interpret that language, and here's how we think those types of projects, or that rate structure, that tariff, right? A tariff is essentially the state law that governs. A tariff is like law. But anyway, it's what governs the requirements, the parameters, the guardrails, I think is what you were saying, Randy, and the rates going forward. And like I said, 2 of the investor-owned utilities were in last year and had cases approved, and we've got 1 in now. And that's kind of how those guardrails are determined, consistent with the statute that was passed.
It's interesting. Because what I heard, the broad brushstroke that I heard from the governor was it's a hands-off kind of a deal. I mean, we're going to let the municipalities and the counties and stuff, for the largest part of it, make their decision.
I think make a decision on whether
Local authority and zoning.
yeah, I mean, they've always had a lot of control over local authority and zoning, but certainly the state, through the Public Service Commission, is really involved with respect to investor-owned utilities and how those rates get decided.
Right. Sort of interesting. And remember the old CAFO wars of 10, 15 years ago, when various counties, Lynn County, others, were having setback rules that I got involved in those things because there were public health concerns about that. And so the counties would have setback rules, and the state said, no, you can't do that. People can do with their land what they want to do. The state really took a much heavier footprint on those decisions when it came to that.
And you heard it this year a little bit with Cindy O'Loughlin and solar, right? And solar farms. Certainly we've heard a little bit of that. This is, nothing's new under the sun. This is, we talked about it several sessions ago, John, at length, about landfills and setbacks, right? But it's interesting because we've gone, and I heard a new term that I hadn't heard before, but we've gone from NIMBY. Everyone's heard NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard, to banana. Have you heard banana yet? Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone. And there are people out there who have that tact, right? Still, you want your lights to turn on. You want your Chat GPT to work. You want your trash picked up. And these are important things for our state, right? And again, whether we're talking Missouri or whether we're talking China, I want my data to be processed here in the U.S. I don't want my data going to China. I want, Missouri to be able to pick up my trash. I don't want to have to be paying Kansas to, import or export my trash. So it has real implications for beyond just, the thing itself, with security, whether we're talking state security or national security, and being able to be self-sufficient, right? And so we have to make these investments smartly and do it together. And I think that's what the governor was saying yesterday with the communities.
Well, some counties are running with the ball, and others are saying not so much. I don't want the ball, right? And that's maybe a good thing, right? It's federalism, Missouri style. So, sounds good. When we come back, the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Last month, you said Iranian leaders were very rational people, nice people to deal with, strong people, smart people. Today, you said they were scum, sick people, and being led by sick people. What changed, and do you think
I got to know them. So I've said that about a lot. Now, when you say rational, I think they're much more rational than level 1, level 2. Level 1 is gone. Level 2 is gone. This is level 3.
Donald Trump yesterday. Here's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown.
And Randy, I want you to watch that back in a few minutes. And as soon as he says, I got to know him, watch Marco Rubio's face.
Laughing.
He tries to be stone-faced so much, but he just can't contain himself for that comment. It is, we are back on the brink in the Middle East. President Trump has very little patience left for the Iranians after they attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. More attacks occurred last night. I think President Trump said, let's just finish the job. And it's an economic problem for the president. Of course, it threatens oil prices, gasoline prices, inflation, and we have midterms coming up. And I think the whole idea with the MOU was, midterms, let's press pause till, that deadline wasn't a coincidence, Randy. It was right after the midterms. And I thought all along, as soon as those midterms are over, good luck, Iran. I think we're coming back after you. But Iran struck first, and the U.S. said, we're not going to sit around and do nothing. So Iran is striking back. And I don't know where those stand overnight, but I think we decimated their ports and a couple other things last night. The dust may still be settling, Randy.
Yep, they are attacking, and he said he was going to do it yesterday, and they followed through. I think it may have gone on a little pause now, but looks like we're back to war.
If I ever have to drop out of a Senate race, I hope I don't do an 11-minute long video. Yesterday, Graham Plattner officially called it quits, and he could have just said, hey, thanks, gotta go. Instead, we got a really long video, which you heard a little bit of earlier. He insists that he's innocent, and he's blaming the establishment, Democrats, and now Democrats have to pick a replacement. This person would end up challenging Republican Senator Susan Collins. I think on the list, John mentioned earlier, former Senate President Troy Jackson, Secretary of State Bellows, and former CDC Director Shaw. This is really
the best one on the list?
Yeah.
From Grey's Anatomy, Patrick Dempsey, Dr. McDreamy.
He's on the list?
He's on the list. He's a Mainer, and he's on the potential list.
Do we know what his political views are? I mean, we know he's dreamy.
I think he's pretty much a lib.
Okay. Well, they have just a short time to pick a new candidate. And, of course, Maine was Democrats' one of their best hopes for a pickup. So we'll see where they land there. We also got additional big announcements at NATO. Trump said that Ukraine will be allowed to co-produce Patriot missile systems with the U.S. Syria will be removed from the U.S. list of state-sponsored terrorism, and maybe Turkey will regain access to the F-35s, but he didn't commit to that just yet. He also expressed deep frustration with Spain, talking about how he might cut off Spain from trade altogether because they're not pulling their weight. Also in Kentucky, we're still watching and waiting about Mitch McConnell. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is now publicly asking McConnell's office for more transparency. McConnell's been hospitalized for weeks. Lots of people are oddly posting on Twitter that they had these long conversations with him, but there's a lot of questions surrounding that. And Randy, we do have to get to this. We don't have time now, but according to a new analysis, Obamacare marketplace premiums are going up bigly next year.
Yeah, well, we've got to support those profits of those big companies that like to ration your care and say you can't do this and you can't do that. And you need a prior auth for that, after all. Hey, there's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown. When we come back, some good news out of the Mizzou Athletic Hall of Fame. And how about those Chiefs? Stay tuned.
As America Drew Lock. I still remember the night you announced to the world you were coming to be a Mizzou Tiger. We were getting a great quarterback, but you were also carrying on a legacy. Following in your dad's footsteps said everything about who you were and what this place meant to you. From that moment on, you went to work. I watched you grow every day as a competitor, as a leader, and eventually into one of the best quarterbacks this program has ever seen.
Well, that was Coach Andy Hill announcing Drew Lock into the Missouri Athletics Hall of Fame. And it got better because this followed with Drew Lock sitting next to him.
Try not to shake this whole time. Coach Hill, when I think about my experience at Mizzou, that journey started with you and our relationship. You were the one who believed in me early. You came to Lee Summit, gave me the opportunity to be a Tiger, just like my dad and my grandfather before me. So much of what we accomplished at Mizzou during my 4 years has your fingerprints all over it. And I'm just one of a long list of Tigers who can say the same thing, especially from the Kansas City area.
Well, there you go. Drew Lock then announced Coach Hill into the Hall of Fame. So that was a cool moment, wasn't it?
It was a sweet video. And they were both kind of getting a little teary.
I remember that season. I guess he's second only to Chase Daniels, right, in terms of yardage.
Did you see the news with him yesterday as well?
No, he's the Seattle. Wasn't he the backup quarterback for Seattle this year in the Super Bowl?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah. What other news yesterday?
Oh, Chase Daniel is now joining SEC Nation.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't hear
so
that.
big day for Missouri quarterbacks.
Cool. That's a big deal.
I don't know the best clip that I know of him, and whenever I watched, was him going to South Carolina. And one of the student section kids threw a water bottle onto not a water bottle, but like a unmarked bottle of liquids onto the field, and he started drinking it after a play. So people think that it might have been alcohol, just knowing the South Carolina student sections. But he's a fan favorite here.
And then saw a story about the Chiefs saying that maybe they're going to come back strong because they've shored up a weakness, according to ESPN, that they signed a free agent, Kenneth Walker. Then they signed Amari DeMercado, and then Emmett Johnson they drafted. So that going to solve all their problems, guys?
Walker, Super Bowl MVP.
I was about to say, having a Super Bowl MVP cannot hurt.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to say, how does that happen? How does he become a free agent? Why doesn't his team want to keep him?
Do you want I'm going to try not to get into the weeds on this.
Yeah.
What Seattle did, they had two running backs who were equally as good, and they split reps. So whenever the free agency time came, it was like, oh, these guys don't have the numbers of all the other running backs. Hey, we're not going to pay you as much. Then that running back got injured right before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Kenneth Walker just carried the Seahawks throughout the entire playoffs and got the big paycheck, just not with the Seahawks.
And then you start getting into salary caps and all that stuff. And
that's
what
amazing.
Was it, Drake? When they guarantee him 40-some million?
Yeah, it was
initially, and then there was another 20-some on top of that as well. So how do you compete?
Yeah.
Good for the Chiefs.
Good for the Chiefs. That is like a huge contract for running backs because you do not pay for running backs normally.
So first, I thought Pacheco was sort of our big guy here, but not cutting the mustard, right? Last year, he got injured too.
Yeah, and we got rid of Pacheco.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I was surprised. I thought he was sort of the running back future. So he's not around anymore. Now, what about protecting Mahomes? Because that was another problem. What have we done in terms of our?
They signed a guy, if I'm not.
Didn't they draft
wrong.
in that position or not?
I'd have to look back, but I think the biggest area that they needed help in was the secondary because they got rid of their only good cornerback to the Rams for a first-round pick where they got another. It's all, I don't know. I think that as long as Patrick Mahomes is, healthy to play and adding an actual running back where, he can do play action stuff, which he just doesn't do as much. as most other successful quarterbacks, I mean, we'll be fine.
You think you're not worried about his protection?
No.
Who was the kid out of Indiana we picked up, the offensive lineman, the rookie who's supposed to be so good? I can't think of his name.
Yeah, we need that. Need that in a big way.
Can't remember.
Well, we'll have to see where it goes. The other thing, though, on the Chiefs front that I saw was that I guess it's someone, arrowheadaddict.com. So, you know, what one of these team supportive sites saying that they've got a lack of under 25 stars and that for the future that could be a problem. Times have changed, they said, but I don't know. I'd like to see, wouldn't you like to see a nice, robust, young contingent, but also you got to have the experience if you're going to win the big game. I don't know how they do that. Trent McDuffie, the Chiefs traded away several draft picks, and I think a lot of people weren't all that happy when they graded the Chiefs draft experience. Well, we'll have to see where it goes. When do they open up? It's not far off, is it? I mean,
no, it's like a month away before
preseason's a month away, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Are they doing outdoor like camp now, or where do they when it's 100 degrees out? What they don't do they?
And the FIFA's got all their fields.
Yeah, that doesn't
exactly.
help. I'm trying to remember what the NFL rules are, but they do have rules that for some of the practices they have to be open to the public, and I don't know if they have a public indoor facility or not.
I always worry, I remember the old St. Louis Cardinals football team. Was it J.V. Kane? Was he the guy that collapsed? And one of their wide receivers collapsed. That was basically the beginning of a lot of awareness of this congenital heart, structural problem that can lead very elite athletes to collapse. And so now they screen all these guys very carefully for that. But, the way these guys are worked on some of these, and you play football, right?
Yeah, just look at DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Two favorite teams beat each other up so bad that one of them, had an incident on the field. It's not great.
But he's back to full speed, right?
Yeah, which is insane.
Isn't that great? That's been one of the most inspiring kind of, stories, I think, of the last few years in the NFL, to see that guy actually have a cardiac arrest on the field and then, come back and made a couple of whiz-bang plays, too. And when the playoffs or something, he did great plays. So it's good to see. Good to see. You'd sure like to see the Chiefs compete. I don't know, though. It seems as though some of the Chief fervor, at least among folks I've talked to that may not be rabid fans, and maybe that's the differentiating point, but people who follow them, watch the game if it's convenient. They may not buy an extra ticket or an extra platform subscription to watch a game, but they'll, do it. They're like, I don't know, they're leaving the state here in a couple of years. I don't know. I've sort of lost my enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I thought, don't get me wrong, a Missouri team going to Kansas is bad, but also the Chicago Bears are looking to move to Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, where are we with that?
I think that's actually happening. At
yeah,
first,
sounds like it for sure.
That is just astounding. You've got this legendary Soldier Field and the Chicago Bears and all their history with all their big names over the years and their history, and my gosh.
Well, think of it from the team's perspective. You get a amazing stadium that adds a X amount of money to your team's value, and I think that's why Roger Goodell has been pushing these teams to do this. It sucks for the fans, but
it's like musical chairs with these professional teams anymore. Right?
Man, I wouldn't want to live in Gary, Indiana. That's a hairy, scary place.
That's a
live.
rough city, isn't it? I remember seeing, was it 60 Minutes or some other documentary on what a rat hole it is. Just not really.
Man, I worked with a guy in early days of radio who was from Gary and had a straight razor scar down the palm of his hand where he tried to take it away from a guy.
No, really?
Yeah. And he carried concealed weapons back in the day when it wasn't on the books.
Oh, my goodness.
He said, I'm from Gary, Indiana. End of story.
Now, we have another Randy who says they signed back Jarius Sneed.
They did.
L'Jarius
Sneed.
L'Jarius, okay.
I don't know. It's hard to convince me that the Chiefs are in a win now whenever your best players, except Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the exception. But, like, you have Chris Jones. He's, getting up there in age. Travis Kelce getting up there in age. They're not producing like they used to. And
Well, that's what this fan site was saying. It's like they used to be known for having up-and-coming young pups who were ready to move into places, and that there's sort of a lack of that this year. You don't think so?
I mean, Travis Kelce wasn't the spring chicken. He wasn't a rookie when he won his first Super Bowl. But, yeah, I get what you're saying.
The predictors are saying he's in for 74, 75, rushing carries and 4 TDs for this year. I don't know how they come up with those numbers, but we'll see. I think he's good to go on those for sure.
And all of this is to say, like, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. No one else has a chance besides the Rams. Not St. Louis.
St. Louis, boy, look at that.
Yeah, going back.
A little Freudian slip there. Yeah.
The LA Rams, they're just going to win the Super Bowl. And I don't think they're favored yet, but they have the best odds by far.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
This is interesting, though, about Drew Lock. You think about a Mizzou quarterback who's back up on a Super Bowl winning team. That's very, very cool. What'd be the chance of, let's say Mahomes he's been a little more injury prone recently. That's happened.
He's rehabbing, yeah.
Well, he's got a contract, but man, wouldn't that be ultra cool?
Yes, it would be. But we also have the Chiefs have Justin Fields and a rookie quarterback.
You happy with that backup situation?
I think they have one of the best in the league. Are you kidding me? They have.
Yeah.
Justin Fields started last year.
Can't complain.
Had some spurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the only thing the Jets had going.
Well, there you go. A little bit of football news. And that Hall of Fame mutual introduction, Stephanie, was really very, very heartwarming. And they were getting a little choked up, too, right? It was really something. All right. Well, congratulations to Coach Hill and to Drew Lock for their upcoming induction into the Hall of Fame in Mizzou. What's the lipid test that you might want to ask your doctor to grab the next time you get the cholesterol check? Talk about that when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
ApoB, do you know what your ApoB number is?
Is that different than my A1C?
Yeah, it is. Actually, that's a cholesterol measure that isn't on the standard cholesterol panel. It stands for apolipoprotein B. So when we get
it does.
When we get our cholesterol checked, there's a total cholesterol, then there's the high density lipoprotein, and there's the low density. These are basically cholesterol and triglyceride containing particles that are all like a globule of fat. That's cholesterol and triglyceride kind of stuff. And around it is wrapped a protein. And that protein defines sort of whether we call it LDL or HDL. And it can get into a lot of nuance. But the standard lipid panel that we get on a fasting basis checks those things. And, everyone wants to really keep an eye on their LDL, the low density lipoprotein, because it's lifetime exposure to that floating through your blood vessels that, along with genetics and inflammation and hypertension and other things, really can connote a significant risk of a cardiovascular event, like a heart attack or a stroke or having to have a bypass surgery or, God forbid, sudden cardiac death. And so these major events are really tied to things like your LDL. But the apolipoprotein B is related to LDL, and it's something you might want to ask your doctor about the next time you get your blood drawn for those kind of things, like an annual visit. It's especially important, this newer kind of a number. It's actually been around for a while, but I think it's now become very validated by the heart people and the lipid people that know what they're doing and study these things. And here's the way I put it to patients. We've been testing this now for several years, and because in certain instances it can be really important, particularly if you have diabetes, if your triglycerides are high, if you're overweight and you have sort of this cluster of overweight and hypertension and high cholesterol, if you had a family history of heart disease, these kind of things especially, I want you to ask your doctor about it. But I think for all of us it'd be good to know. So when you get your LDL number, what that says is that per unit of blood, you have X amount of that type of cholesterol particle in your blood. It doesn't say in how many particles that amount is contained. So I tell people, like, look, I could say, hey, I've got 50 gallons of cholesterol LDL here. And I don't know if it's in a 50-gallon barrel or if it's in 51-gallon buckets. So you actually want to know the number of particles that total amount of LDL is in. You don't really get the whole picture. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's these little particles that find their way into a crack in the lining of your blood vessels, and then that's what can start the process towards having a plaque and eventually, ending up with cardiovascular disease, narrowing of the arteries, rupturing of one of those plaques, and having a heart attack, for instance. So the cool thing about ApoB is you don't need to be fasting to have it.
Thank goodness.
It's a standardized test. It's a direct measurement from one lab to the next. It's going to be the same. And, because of insurance and mobility of our population, people are going to be moving around and changing labs and hospitals and doctors. So,
I never really, fasting never really bothered me till I joined the Wake Up fam because, I used to be able to go to the lab at 7 in the morning. Mm-hmm. But when you can't get there till 10, that's
a bigger
rough.
deal.
That's rough.
Yeah.
But you're saying I don't have to fast to take
No, not for this
test.
one, although they may want you to fast for the rest of the panel, the standard panel. And so I think this helps guide therapy for people who maybe are on lipid-lowering therapy and your LDL looks normal, target. But you'd want to know what your ApoB is because it really is now becoming, in some studies and in certain situations, a higher predictor of whether you're likely to have a heart attack event and whether you need to take even additional stuff to drive that number down, get it out of the bloodstream so it can't result in a plaque. Because the reward for high ApoB is not the plaque you hang on the wall, but the plaque that lines your blood vessels. And that's a problem. Let's make Missouri healthy again.
headquarters.
Show us a mountain and we'll just climb it. Show us an ocean and we'll just cross it.
It's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
Facing the future without fear.
The Zimmer News Team.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, these people want to literally redistribute the wealth.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
But I could see something like
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force
I have
One?
a threat all the time. I'm number one on their list before you. But if I go, you go. Right?
But was there a specific
so
threat today?
perhaps someday you want to change professions. What do you have, Daniel?
Donald Trump with his reporter gaggle aboard Air Force One yesterday as they had a mix-up with the old Air Force One was shuttled in and the new one shuttled out and shown off to people there at the Air Force Base. And it was interesting to see that back and forth between reporters. He says, if I go, you go. So he's right. I mean, and there are now threats, of course, ongoing from all across Iran. There were big rallies over the weekend and calling for death to Trump, death to America. Nothing new under the sun. We're watching what's going on in Iran. We'll be talking about that in further detailed depth and with deep analysis with Colonel Stephen Bucci, our national security analyst and cybersecurity expert as well when it comes to war fighting at 8:08. Representative Don Mayhew will be with us later this hour at 7:35 on Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler along with Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, and Drake Whitman. Glad you're with us. 573-874-9390 is the number to text us if you'd like to weigh in. And 529-5572, the 800 number, 800-529-5572. The other big news, Stephanie, Plattner's out. Again, not an if but when proposition, but he is angry and he wants to just blow things up there. I don't think you can explain it any other way or reframe it, can it? And based on that 12-minute video he put out.
Yeah, he's frustrated. He feels like he's the victim, that the establishment's after him. He's not taking any accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think you would have to be completely delulu, as Gen Z says now, to actually run for office. I mean, there is a little, I think there's a little bit of delusion, but some people have it worse than others, and I think he is one that you could say is just. For me, self-awareness is a really important skill to have. I don't think he has any.
You saying like, oh, some people have it worse than others. You say that whenever they have like bad life circumstances. Like, is this completely brought like by himself?
No, I'm saying like every politician, even the ones that I like and that I think that do a good job. I mean, I think, to give up a successful career. I mean, think about it. Whether you're Eric Schmidt, whether you're Catherine Hanaway running a huge law firm, you have to have just a little delusion to run for office. I think a little crazy, right? And certainly
you have to be a little crazy. Yeah,
just a little bit.
Now the microscope is so finely tuned.
I mean,
the light is so bright. Yeah.
And certainly these people that I just mentioned have a deep commitment to public service, and I think in that way they are different. And maybe we say crazy; they're a little abnormal in that most people, your commitment toward public service is not strong enough to put yourself through running for public office. But so I think everyone who's done it, whether you're running for me on the board of aldermen, whether you're running for school board, like it's not a decision I think quote normal people make. But I think for some reason politics seems to draw folks that are way on the other end of the spectrum that have grand ideas. I'm thinking like Eric Greitens. Those types of people, and that either they're power hungry, they have something going on with their ego. I don't know. So it's a weird crowd. I think we can all agree.
And what's amazing though is I think you look at anyone, whether it's Ronald Reagan, whether it's name your favorite politician, Catherine Hanaway, anywhere. There's going to be somewhere where they either failed in their career, they lost a case, they goofed up and submitted something late or whatever. And the media will dig and dig and dig and dig to find whatever little chink you have in your armor, right? Who doesn't? Is anyone perfect? And it's you expose yourself to that and you go like, my gosh, can you just look at the totality of what I've done in my life rather than this little goof or that little error or that little thing. But that's where we're at in our news cycle these days. Who wants to give that, go under that scrutiny?
I mean, Graham
Look at the
Plattner.
zillionaires, too, though, over the years.
Right.
Michael Bloomberg and J.B. Tritzer, not to mention Trump, of course. These rich guys, and they go into politics, and you're like, why?
Well, and John Brunner here in the state, right? He ran.
Ross Perot.
Yeah, I think, but Randy, I think, Graham Plattner didn't miss a deadline, right?
I understand.
There's a fine line between, we all have our own mistakes, but you're right. I think it takes a little bit of, gumption and maybe a little delusion to want to subject yourself to that. And not only, subject yourself to whatever mistakes you've made in the past, but also know that going forward, to the extent you are elected or, you enter a campaign, every move you make is going to be under the microscope from there forward.
You mentioned Brunner. Gosh, look at Jack Danforth and his money and Kit Bond and all these guys.
Right.
They weren't paupers coming into the political arena.
But even if you talk about just campaign commercials and where people say, I've never voted for a tax, when then someone digs up, well, you did actually, cast a vote for this tax. Oh, you're a liar. Well, there's usually more nuance involved in that, right? You may have voted on a procedural basis for there to be a vote, that kind of a thing, to close debate. Well, was that really a vote for the tax when you later voted against it? There's such a rabid badger, hyena kind of a mentality among the media. And I really hope and always pray that we have a healthy media that does try to find out substantive problems with our public officials, our people that want to be public officials.
Yeah.
But now they even go after family members, for crying out loud.
Well, and I think one of the questions in my mind too, you hope that voters are the ultimate check. With Graham Plattner, the voters going into those polling places knew he was already a bad dude, and they still voted for him. The question is, and we've had calls for kind of party vetting before, shouldn't the party and the internal to the campaign, especially once you get at this serious level, your own campaign should uncover anything in your past that could be a problem for you. Right. And at that point, do you have someone serious enough in your circle that says, hey, this isn't going to work out for anybody? It doesn't look like Graham Plattner. It sounds like the people internal to him knew that he was a bad dude, and he didn't have anyone close enough to him to say, probably not.
What's interesting, though, and I think what has me flabbergasted is I saw this video. Dave Portnoy put this on his X feed. Apparently, this guy there's this interview with a guy named Daniel Moraff, Moraff, and Leanne Fan, and a strategist, Morris Katz, and they're having an interview about the vetting of Plattner. And when you listen to this guy, first of all, I'm sorry, Daniel, but man, if you ever knocked on my door when I was either supporting or was a candidate, I'd say get the heck out of here. Listen to this.
At this point, you hadn't vetted Graham Plattner. You hadn't done a full scrub of who he is. How did you go about vetting him? And why did you?
We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money and got some stuff back. Some of what you've seen on the news we got back. Other stuff we didn't.
We did. Did the vetting process turn up the tattoo that became so controversial?
No.
The Reddit posts, did that turn up in the vetting process?
The firm sent us a thing, and it had some of the posts, but it didn't have all of them.
Damn.
And what did you think about that? How did you think your way through the fact that he had posted these things on social media?
I said none of this will or should stop him from becoming a U.S. Senator.
And what was your thinking there?
Agree. I think if what the voters wanted were people who were grown in vats and had never done or said anything that they might regret their entire lives, we'd have a very different country. Part of our thesis here is that people do not want their candidates grown in vats. They want people who are real human beings, and they want people who do not look and sound like the vat-grown people who've been leading this country off a cliff.
Yeah, like you.
All together now. Beta male? I mean, wow. Just the way the man speaks. When everything ends in a question, They don't want candidates growing in vats.
Soy boy too dated a term, Drake?
Well, and
That's
even more than his voice. I mean, traditional liberal in that we're just playing the victim and pointing the finger at somebody else and not taking any accountability. Well, I hired this firm and they didn't disclose all of this to me. I mean, he's just not taking accountability for the buck stops here. I was in charge and apparently didn't do due diligence on this Oppo firm and got bad data. And I mean, but I feel a little bit bad for him. Did it disclose this tattoo? I mean, I think, you'd have to wonder if other folks who are vetting candidates, okay, we need a picture of every candidate in their skivvies.
Like strip search. Like the cops do, right? And a DNA sample.
I don't think that was traditionally part of the Oppo package, but now perhaps maybe it will be.
Here's a little bit of Fetterman getting worked up over things, too.
You will only be remembered as the accused rapist that got pushed out of your election. That's your legacy, bro. And you are a guy that cheats on your wife. You're the guy that roughs up your ex-girlfriends. That's your legacy, bro.
So,
go back
Senator,
under that rock that you came from.
He has been after Graham Plattner from day one. I mean, he went on with Charlie Hurt, who was hosting one of these shows, and he went on and kept circling back about trash, and you're just a trash heap. You're politically a dead man walking. I mean, he didn't mince any. Hey, bro, he said, oh. I don't know, though. Do we really want Fetterman in our tent? I don't know. Because he's still a liberal at heart, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not in the classical liberal kind of a sense.
He's keeping Carhartt in business with the fancy hoodies. So every time I hear Dave Portnoy interview somebody on something political and outside of sports, I'm just waiting for him to whip out a slice of pizza and take a big bite and do his review.
There you go. Yeah. So right. Hey, coming up at 7:35, just about 15 minutes from now, we're going to be reopening this discussion about data centers. How do you feel about them? Representative Don Mayhew may have a thought or three about that. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll come back then with Steve Bucci, see what's going on in Iran, and maybe get some operational and even tactical advice. Drake, would you call the Oval Office? Steve will be on. Let him know. Okay, we'll be back.
It's Wake Up
Well. I guess if you're a judge and you want to take an illegal out and conceal them from ICE agents and take them out through a secret doorway that really is not for public use, that's not a bad thing. You can get away with it and just pay a $5,000 fine, and yeah, it's all good. That is, if you're a former Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan. Boy, that's got me really worked up, I'm telling you.
I was nervous to put that on there because I knew you'd be triggered by it, Randy.
Convicted of felony obstruction last year with federal agents, attempted to, remember they were trying to serve a warrant on someone that was in front of her or was going to be in front of her. Eduardo Flores Ruiz. She was acquitted of concealing an individual to prevent arrest, a misdemeanor. She faced up to 5 years in prison. How do you go from facing up to 5 years to writing a check for $5,000? And it's like, oh, okay, good. Go and get a job at, Home Depot for $20 an hour. Yeah. I mean,
it's all about accountability, Randy.
Well, that's my point. It's not about accountability. I guess if you're a judge, I wonder if it was just an everyday person. What if it was the clerk in the court, or what if
be in the slammer?
They'd be in the slammer. You don't think that? I think this is a situation where an otherwise good person, upset by immigration policies in this country, made a bad decision in the moment, said U.S. District Judge Lynn Edelman. Let's deport her, too, along with Sonny Hostin.
Isn't that every criminal ever? Like, somebody goes out there and shoots somebody. I think they were a good person. They were just, really mad in the moment.
Yeah, they were very quiet, never caused any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world? Judge Lynn Edelman. What? Maybe she needs to take a mental fitness for the bench test. Do we have those?
No.
That's insulting to we the people, isn't it?
Whatever happened to the immigrant, by the way? He escaped out the back door. Has he been caught? Is he still on the loose?
I think, didn't they find him? Didn't they catch him eventually?
I thought they did.
Out in the alleyway or something? Hannah models what it means to be a Christian, said Reverend Gregory O'Meara. I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if they would talk about that with a judge that would maybe, someone, a gray-haired lady that walked into the Capitol when the police said, come on in, when they were streaming in on J6.
I mean, John, you remember that. There was a bunch of ministers, I think it was it Medicaid, cuts to Medicaid, and they were up in the Senate gallery and they made a ruckus, and a lot of them went to court. Like, they got removed and had to hire lawyers.
The same ones who protested on the steps of the Cole County Courthouse as well.
So everyone here, boy, all these people coming to defend her. Janine Geske, a law professor, said Dugan's life wasn't completely defined by her work. She has been punished by being handcuffed, by being in the media. All she loves to do is share with others. Yeah, share breaking the law with an illegal alien trying to run from ICE.
While we have you triggered already, Randy, we might as well rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm on the verge of a cold. It's easy to trigger today.
Well, I know how you feel about Donald Trump slapping his name on everything, and there's a new thing to add to the list. So we've got oh, shoot, we're going to have to do this later.
We'll wait on this.
We'll let you be triggered through the whole little break there. Maybe you can take a deep breath and we'll re-trigger you when we come back.
Let us know, gang. Do you think that Judge Hannah Dugan got away with it, right? 573-874-9390, 800-529-5572. Let us know. Be back with Representative Don Mayhew. The topic, data centers. Well, data centers are on everyone's mind, certainly in everyone's computer, and whether it's on the pocket or the desktop, right? And we've been talking about the controversy. Representative Don Mayhew joins us now to talk about that. Don, welcome into the program. Yesterday we talked with the governor, and John asked the question about you asking the question about a special session, and I don't know. I think the governor seemed to douse that fire a little bit. What are your thoughts?
You guys couldn't talk him into it?
We tried. We tried real hard. Well, not too hard. But
Well, yeah, so we've heard a lot in the news lately, but I'm hearing a lot from people at the doors. I'm out knocking doors, of course, but emails, et cetera. I mean, the constituents out there are really concerned about these data centers. So it kind of looks like we're going to have, somewhere around 10 of them going to be built in the state of Missouri. And best I can tell, several of them are either under contract or under construction. Now, what I'm talking about is the hyperscale data centers, these things like this Google one they're building up in Montgomery County. I don't know how many acres that thing is going to cover, but it's huge. It's a monster. And so, we're seeing a lot of stuff online about it. And, since these things are going to be built fairly quickly, and I think that everyone would agree that at the very least there's some areas of concern that we could address in a special session. And, once if we're going to wait around until session starts in January, most of these things are already going to be down the road. And so any law we pass, ex post facto is not going to apply to those data centers already under contract or under construction. So that's why I think we need a special session, is so that we can alleviate some of these concerns and plug any holes that we might have in our laws right now.
Well, you mentioned, that there were several items of concern that you need to get ahead of the game before they're already sort of entrenched. What are a few of those?
So the first one, of course, and a lot of folks are concerned about it, and I think legitimately so, is about water. And now some of it's misinformed without a doubt. But where I would be concerned if I was a neighbor is these folks can drill a well. They're not considered industrial users or municipal type users, but they can drill a well to whatever depth they want, just like anyone out in a rural area with the typical farm home. And so those wells are usually a domestic well for single family residences hits that 300 to 400 foot level. And since in this case, Google is just using that for cooling water. They don't care about the quality of the water. They're just pulling the water out to use it for cooling. And so they are going to take water out of that shallow aquifer. So that could affect domestic wells. Well, it's a real simple thing, which is one of the things we should address. By the way, I should have said I'm an engineer by trade. That's what supports my legislative hobby. But those shallow wells, those aquifers obviously have a certain capacity, and if you've got a big user adjacent to your well, then it could affect that. Well, right now, all we would really need to do is make sure that they would fall into the same category as a big industrial user or a municipality. So that difference is that those wells go down to about, anywhere from 800 to 900 feet. In other words, pulling out of a totally different aquifer. So some of the water quality issues, that's not as big a concern because, the water is going to be either recycled or, it'll just be evaporated off. But it's not going to go back into the system, with chemicals or whatever in it. But the second thing is electricity. These things consume enormous amounts of electricity, and that can't help but put stress on the grid. I mean, without a doubt. Now, we've heard that, Google has made a special deal with Ameren and that they're going to pay for some infrastructure. But the infrastructure that they're paying for is upgrades to substations to get this larger power demand to their facility. What I'm concerned about, especially after we passed construction work in progress, the so-called Senate Bill 4, what I'm concerned about is the requirements to install new generation. Well, by everybody's, anywhere you go look, right, talk about these things. For instance, Google's under a 15-year contract. Well, it's going to take longer than 15 years for Ameren, for instance, to build a new SMR or whatever it is they decide to build under QIP. So what I'm afraid that what's going to happen is there's going to be this huge demand causing prices to go up, requiring Ameren to build a new power plant. And then by the time the power plant gets built, Google's already gone. And which is a real possibility. I mean, what was it? Elon Musk said here a couple months ago that he really doesn't care about these hyperscale data centers because all the storage in that 40-acre hyperscale data center is going to fit in the size of a cell phone here in a few years.
Wow.
So the electricity is an immediate concern, and we should be doing things either requiring them to contribute to future power generation or figuring out how we're going to manage that going into the future.
I'm looking at the law that y'all already passed, Senate Bill 4, and it requires the utility companies to come before the PSC and for the PSC to approve schedules for these customers. It says the schedules must reasonably ensure such customers' rates will reflect the customer's representative share of the costs incurred to serve the customers and prevent other customer classes' rates from reflecting any unjust or unreasonable costs arising from service to such customers. So now the PSC then oversees that process and has been doing so over the last year and a half. You passed a law to protect other customers from rate increases, did you not?
So if you go on to read through there, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't point it out. So a lot of those what would normally be public service commission approvals, certainly where it revolves around QIP, are not subject to that same scrutiny. And for instance, under QIP, those rate increases don't have to be passed through Public Service Commission based on the language that's in Senate Bill 4. I agree with you. However, if their rate increase fits under their expansion plan, well, then they don't even have to ask Public Service Commission for approval on a rate increase there. It's a notification process. And so we will see, and if you're in investor-owned utility territory, then you're going to see rate increases associated with QIP, I would say here in the very near future, as soon as they get their expansion plan done, which, it can be as simple as saying, hey, we're going to build a power plant 30 years from now. Or it may be more detailed. I haven't seen it, and so I don't know what it says. But there has been a lot of latitude given through Senate Bill 4 to the investor-owned utilities.
Well, let's also overlay that with the fact that, the healthcare companies promised the federal government that they were going to provide great, affordable health care under the Obamacare Act. How did that work out for you? The Department of Insurance in Missouri doesn't really protect patients from abuses by insurance companies. I think there's a general distrust of people making decisions that are, big air finger quotes, going to protect us. And so I think that's also a concern. Promises made are not always promises kept when it comes to big money and big campaign financing. Representative Don Mayhew joins us, District 124 in Missouri, talking data centers.
Don, you talked earlier about misinformation on behalf of the folks who presumably will end up or already living around these data centers. What's the misinformation revolve around? Does it revolve around on the cooling costs or the financing, or what are you hearing from constituents?
And how about noise pollution? We've heard about that too.
Okay, so that I'm glad you mentioned those because that's actually where it's at. So some of it was right around the water. I mean, I saw some stuff online about, well, they're going to pump the water out of the ground and drain the aquifer, and then they're going to put dangerous chemicals in it and pump it back into the ground. Well, that just doesn't make economic sense. But there is a legitimate concern around water withdrawal, like I'd said earlier. The other thing was around property taxes. So there was a big rumor on the internet about Google and or Amazon up in Montgomery County was going to get an 80% deferment on their property taxes. Well, according to the folks who were talking down at Missouri S&T on basically that particular installation, they said that wasn't true. Now, I haven't seen that writing anywhere, from an official source, but they said no, they're going to be paying their full share of property taxes. But it's those kind of things that, quite honestly, a special session would tease out, right? We could be talking about these things in, out in the wide open with testimony from folks on both sides of the issue. So a special session wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for the data centers. In fact, I think it'd be a good thing so that a lot of these concerns could be aired out. And then if we do decide that, some changes in legislation need to be made, we can do them right then. We can focus on that one issue. We all know what happens in January, right? There's 3,300 bills filed, all of them competing for the top spot, and the focus goes away from a lot of times the things that we started with as a priority.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're running slow on time here, or low on time. Why don't we'll resume this? Stephanie's itching to ask something. Go ahead, Steph, real quick.
No,
can't do it in
it's too
Can't
long.
do it in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about water usage, compared to other industries like ag or golf courses or anything else. I think we got to look at the facts
what? If the
Callaway plant.
If the governor's listening, Don, I'll be happy to. I think it's a disinterested party here. Modern. I'll be happy to pay the bill for a nice steak and beer if you guys want to get together and see if you can talk him into that special session. I mean, you name the jurisdiction, the location, I'll do it.
I do have one question. Have you been to a data center?
Yes, actually, I drive by them every day.
Ah, there you go.
They're smaller scale, of course. So a lot of people don't even know they're data centers. So.
Licensed engineer and surveyor and state representative Don Mayhew. Thanks for helping us really unpack some of the details on this thing. Let's talk about this again real soon, okay?
Hey, sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. What's up, John?
Yo soy Batman.
Be back in a minute.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
except for this.
An anonymous vigilante in Lagos de Moreno in Mexico's Jalisco state has been duct taping thieves to lampposts. First victim was found last month. Since then, Mexican police have discovered 4 more people bound in tape. Some showed visible signs of being beaten up. Others had mustaches, cat whiskers, and the word thief, la ladrón, drawn on their faces. Pink signs were shown above the victims, indicating the thieves have been punished for stealing motorcycles. Police are investigating the alleged crimes as they search for the person responsible for tying the men up. Mexican reporters have dubbed the perpetrator the Batman of Lagos de Moreno.
Wow.
How about that?
Hey, maybe we should buy a bus ticket for Judge Hannah Dugan down there.
Yeah, take her down there and send a big roll of Gorilla Tape with her.
Yeah. Not a bad idea.
Hang her upside down on the light pole.
You know, remember the old days when we had the stocks, you know? Bad boys and bad girls were put in the stocks, mainly bad boys. And they were just publicly embarrassed.
We've had stocks, like the medieval thing where they put their head and hands in there?
Yeah. Not medieval. It's
Pilgrims.
Colonial.
Yeah.
Colonial? Okay. Just making sure we're talking about the same thing here.
Well, there's been judges that have done that. Haven't they had sentences where you have to wear a sign around your, like, I shoplifted out for this store, and you have to stand in front of the store or something crazy like that, I think that's great.
It's like what parents should do to their kids.
It's like the dunce cap when you're in school, You would know about that, right?
Okay, was that a real thing? I've heard of the dunce cap.
That's right.
John?
Where do you think all the pointy-headed intellectuals come from?
Coneheads got nothing on them.
That's it.
Well, there's some severe weather coming into mid-Missouri right now, and we're checking the radar. We don't generally like to talk about the weather a whole lot, but we want to let you know there's some big bad weather in mid-Missouri and a little bit, south as well, southwest. But it's a lot of red and orange, dark orange.
I mean, I'm seeing the radar, and it's looking like it's stretching from Kirksville to Tulsa. So
down to Osage Beach, Camdenton. So, yeah. But in our listening area, it looks like y'all in Southeast are doing okay. Well, there's a little cell there.
Yeah, pretty much. Southeast Missouri kind of getting the rain.
Yeah,
Jefferson City had a pretty good cell just blow
scattered
through.
cells throughout the Southeast and a little bit lighter. Well, it looks like a big movement coming in from the Southwest. So, yeah, just hunker down and stay in tune with your local station because they will have all of the latest coming in on your Zimmer Network news and weather. And if anything breaks, that dominates what we talk about. So
also, can we talk about the Batman of wherever? That is such a stupid name. Like, you can be more original with your vigilante names. Come on.
That's true.
What would you suggest?
I don't know. If I was the vigilante, I'd put my little signature sign on it.
How about Dirty Carlos?
How about the Booty Bandit?
The Booty Bandit.
Booty Bandit. Whoa.
That one's already taken.
How about Messy?
Where is the Booty Bandit nowadays?
I think they caught him, but they never found the booties.
Yep.
Focus on Iran coming up after the 8 o'clock news, weather, and sports, and on your local station, and talking with Colonel Stephen Bucci and catching up on what's happening over there. Does anyone really know?
Just climb it. Show us an ocean, and we'll just cross it.
It's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
Facing the future without fear.
The Zimmer News Team.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, these people want to literally redistribute the wealth.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
We have many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
If they want to make a deal, why do you think they attacked commercial vessels?
Because it's sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control. But
Is Donald Trump just realizing now that they're a little bit crazy and won't honor what they, the Iranians, say? It seems like Groundhog Day over in Iran and in the Strait of Hormuz. But to help us make some sense of it, as always, Colonel Stephen Bucci joins us now with Heritage. And Steve, welcome in. It seems like we've had this discussion at least every other week when, things are quiet, then they're kinetic, then they're quiet, then there's threats to America and kill Trump, and then back and forth we go. What's your reaction to the goings-on over the last day or two?
Well, again, you're right. We've had this conversation before. I'm not surprised that the Iranians are not to be trusted. They really don't want a deal. They really want to push this along, give themselves as much time to recover as they can, to reorganize, maybe move some stuff around so it becomes a little more survivable. And then they're going to strike back because they think that's what's going to get them what they want, which is they want us to back off and agree to them controlling the Straits of Hormuz, which, as you recall, they didn't have before the war started. So we're darn sure not going to give it to them after we pummeled them down to almost nothing left. That the idea that they would have the gall to demand that and be surprised that the rest of the world is not saying, well, sure, of course we'll let you control the Straits of Hormuz, tells you that either they are crazy, which I don't think they are. I think they're very dedicated religious fanatics, and they think that they have been called by their God to destroy the rest of the world or bring it into submission under their version of Islam. And I say it specifically that way because it's a very small niche version of Islam. It is not the majority of Muslims, even in their own country, let alone the world, that believe like them. And they don't want just anybody to become a Muslim. They have to be a Muslim according to the standards of the 12er Shia sect. And we can't allow this to happen. We can't allow them to have this kind of control. We can't give them any more affirmation. They don't deserve it, and we don't have time for it. It's time to finish this, get these guys out of there. And I just pray that President Trump realizes it. And I think he does, but he's just so, bound to do this by negotiation. And I think it's a waste of time.
These are the same people who will blow themselves up in the name of their, like you said, small sect of religion and belief that they need to conquer the world, or they will, shield themselves with children. What does finishing them look like? I mean, we've already kind of blown them to smithereens. We took out their top 2 levels of leadership. Now I think we're basically controlling the strait. But, I think there are a lot of Americans who don't want us to have to do that eternally. So what does finishing them and moving on look like?
I think, again, because the people who are doing this, it's a relatively small number of folks, especially compared to the whole population of Iran. We need to very specifically target everything that the IRGC owns, runs, manages, any connection with the IRGC down to the lowest level of their troops need to be hunted down and destroyed. All of their facilities, all of the means that they have to control the population of Iran, and to do everything we can do to reach out to dissidents, to give capabilities to dissidents, to allow them to take over this country. We don't want to invade Iran. I know the president doesn't want to do that. I don't think we should do it, but I don't think we have to. But we've got to go further than we have. We might need to take some of their outlying oil infrastructure, Karg Island, for instance, which, because it's separated from mainland Iran, I think we could put troops there for now and protect them sufficiently to remove any ability the present government of Iran has to earn money, to do commerce, to do any sort of mischief. It's a big ask, I'm the first to admit, but we can't let this go on. It's just an unacceptable situation, and I see no other option while the Iranian government is still in power. We have to help the dissidents come to power.
That's Stephen Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops and Disaster Management at the Heritage Foundation, joining us this morning on Wake Up Missouri.
Colonel, can we get your take on Trump's meetings with the NATO leadership and also his talk about potentially providing the F-35 to the Turks?
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on that. Overall, I thought the NATO meeting went very well, better. There was lots of people prophesying that it was going to be a total disaster. They actually probably said that almost every time Trump's gone to Europe, and it hasn't happened. He ends up being the star of the meeting. Everybody else comes to him and, metaphorically kisses his ring. And the Secretary General of NATO has been very, very forthcoming as, look, actually Trump's asking us to do the things we should be doing. So instead of whining about it, we need to get on board because he's right. So that part I thought went well again. The thing with Turkey, Turkey was a very staunch NATO ally for a long, long time. When they got Mr. Erdogan into power and he removed all remnants of anything vaguely democratic in their structure, we should have drummed them out of NATO. Erdogan is a Muslim Brotherhood guy. He takes the political hints from the Muslim Brotherhood and leaders around the region of the same ilk. He is not Western-oriented at all, as all of his predecessors were. He is essentially an enemy inside our own organization. I don't think we should give the Turks F-35s. I think that's a huge mistake. We need to be looking Erdogan in the eye and saying, you want F-35s? You need to change what you're doing politically. You need to change what you're doing with regard to Israel. You need to change what you're doing around the region, because he still believes that the Turks, because they were in charge of the whole region before, that they should be in charge of it now. Nobody else in the region wants them to do that, because none of them liked it terribly much that the 500 years they were in charge. Ideas that they're going to, be peacekeepers around the Middle East is ludicrous. Nobody wants the Turks to come into their country because the last time they came in, they didn't leave for half a millennium. Much like the Persians, who, at least the crazy leadership, think because there was a Persian Empire back, several millennium ago, that they should be in charge of all of the region again. They're both wrong, and we can't allow Erdogan to do that, and Lord knows we shouldn't give him any means that helps him do that. They're not useful in NATO right now. Yeah. If something started to happen they probably would not side with NATO. So why let them stay in the alliance and still reap the benefits when we kind of know in our hearts that if push came to shove, that they'd go with the other side.
The enemy within. You know, Steve, you were talking earlier about what I conceptualize as a surgical approach to taking out just the right things inside Iran, their assets that are at least mostly majority military use, although there's some mixed use facilities, you know, power and bridges and whatever. And then I read this report a couple of days ago, leaning on U.S. preliminary military report, that the school that was attacked earlier errantly by U.S. forces and killed, reportedly hundreds of children, was based on old intel by CENTCOM. How does that square? If that's true, how can we rely on our ability to surgically strike the needed targets and not hurt the Iranian people so much that they turn against us?
Well, the first simple answer is to make sure that we're also listening to the Israelis, who have the best and the most current intel on everything in Iran, because they've got a ton of agents that are in there and have been there for a long period of time. If we do that, combined with our, technical intelligence, our satellites, our listening, our other types of intelligence that we are the best in the world at, we can stop those kind, or at least minimize those kind of mistakes. Look, intelligence is not as scientific as the intel geeks like to make it look. In a lot of cases, you look at all the information and you make a guess. Now that's people go, guess, that's terrible. Well, that's really what they are. They're intelligent guesses based on incomplete information. But we're pretty good at not doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, we miss one.
Okay.
And that's sad.
Okay. Well, I think that it's going to be interesting. Like you said, it's a heavy lift, and hopefully they'll actually attack it now, as you have pleaded for on Wake Up Missouri today. I'm sure we'll have lots more to talk about. Sorry we're out of time this time, but we'll carve out a lot next time. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Have a great week.
You too. At S. Bucci, if you want to stay tuned with a great X thread, it's at Steve Bucci, at S. Bucci for Stephen. We'll be back with the Morning Bell and the market report. How is it reacting? Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Turmoil in the Middle East. What does it mean for the markets? It's the Morning Bell with Stephanie.
It was a mixed bag yesterday with the NASDAQ up just slightly at 0.2%, the S&P down, matching it at 0.28%, and the Dow down quite significantly at 1.09% down. As we look at the sectors, energy and technology were up big, while financials and materials were among the biggest losers. As we look at the futures, it looks like we're getting a bump. Everybody's in the green today, so I don't know what's causing
with all
that.
the missiles flying.
I know, but maybe people are tired. Maybe people are like, you know, quit sitting on the pot, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just get something done here. So I think that's where people are. The market likes certainty, and I think during the MOU, we were in this period of uncertainty. What's going to happen? Are we going to start dropping the bombs? Are we going to come to some sort of agreement? Or what? You know? So at least we kind of know where we are this morning. Okay, this story is really interesting. The Wall Street Journal talks about about something that went seriously south. So just after. Apparently, people at one point used to say that Twinkies could survive a nuclear apocalypse. Have you looked at the ingredient list for Twinkies lately?
No.
It's kind of like those cheeseburgers that, you know, you leave in your car and they never change. All right. Well, it turns out they might be able to do that, but they can't survive Wall Street. Just a few years ago, J.M. Smucker, the company best known for peanut butter and jelly, dropped $5 billion with a B to buy Hostess. Of course, that's the company that has Twinkies and donuts, those neon yellow chocolate-covered donuts that Drake likes so much.
Hostess has so much more.
Yeah, the CEO, Mark Smucker, was so excited he took a bite of a Twinkie on stage and declared, "Tastes like growth." This morning, it tastes a little bit more like buyer's remorse because Twinkies aren't exactly flying off the shelves, and despite the claims, they actually have a 65-day shelf life, so retailers either have to sell them or toss them. And now, with America becoming obsessed with protein, Twinkies are a disfavored snack. So,
man.
You know, you can't really get your matcha and go to Pilates and pack a Twinkie.
They have partially hydrogenated vegetable and or animal shortening. I mean, that's one. Yellow 5, red 40. I mean, all these
Randy
other
might
things.
remember what was it, way back 1990s movie Paternity with Burt Reynolds?
Yeah.
Where he's talking to his pregnant co-star and says, "Don't eat that Twinkie. You could set it on the railing of this ferry we're riding on and come back in 10,000 years. The boat would disintegrate and the Twinkie'd still be there."
That's right.
That's a myth. That's an urban legend. But yes, so we've been talking a lot about how a lot of folks in business are making bank on nostalgia, but apparently nostalgia doesn't always pay the bills. And here's one where folks have really changed their mind. Now, apparently, Krispy Kreme didn't get the memo because they just announced a new line of Girl Scout inspired mini donuts. You can now get Thin Mint donuts, and I think Lemon Ups and maybe Caramel Delights. So they're going to make a run at it. We'll see if Krispy Kreme fares any better than Smucker.
I'll give you a review of the donuts and all of that.
No peanut butter donuts? Love those peanut butter donuts. Well, that's the morning market report, and oil looks like it's stable after a bump yesterday. That's good to see. Maybe there won't be a big one up there. Zelensky in Ukraine and Trump. Seems like they're back in friendship again. That and more coming up after a few words.
Has America
Oh, my gosh. Or he let them have it. And I think things have basically been mended. But inside the NATO summit, he claimed that Ukraine had video evidence of every single one of the 30,000 Ruskies that have been killed. You can't believe anything from these people sometimes, right? But certainly the Russians have taken a terrible toll, and they've been decimated much more than I think proportionally than the Ukrainians. Ukrainians have been holding their own and maybe even taking back some of that territory. But it appears as though President Trump was going to let Ukraine license some missiles, the Patriot missiles, and maybe, to help them stay and maybe advance their game. It's funny how the talk about the Ukraine-Russia thing has sort of taken a back seat. Remember, Drake, how it was such a big topic, and boy, both sides were fighting, and we on the right didn't appreciate it when all the Congress people at the State of the Union and other big speeches were waving their Ukrainian flags, and more mainstream Republicans. A lot of folks said, wait a minute, we elected Trump not to get into this or expand it, and we don't know what's he doing. Well, I think what his MO was sell the armaments and the planes and the missiles to Europe and let Europe give them to Ukraine if they want, right? Good strategy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Whenever I see the Ukrainian flags, I just think that they're either A, too lazy to put up their next flag, which is usually like the Palestinian flag. I think that was the next big thing. Or they're too broke, which in that case, why are you buying the Ukrainian flag in the first place?
Well, I mean, I think they fought a noble battle. I mean, if you think about it, they're really have been they are population-wise outnumbered. But maybe this is an argument that as corrupt as they may be, and there's corruption, no doubt. I mean, that pales in comparison to the strong arm of Vladimir Putin and communism.
But they're still pretty corrupt. They're not like a great country either. Like, I don't know why people think that Ukraine is this holy, amazing place, when in reality it's never really been that.
The people. My brother did a couple of mission trips over there with my nephews. Probably 15, 20 years ago, and when they were very young, and he talks about when the war broke out. We interviewed some of the people over there that they had gotten to know, and I mean, there's really good people. It reminds me a bit of the Iranian conflict, where you have the good people in that country that just want to live their lives and have a government that is not tyrannical and doesn't get the rest of the world ticked off at them, and then they suffer, And so, like many of these conflicts, I would even say maybe with even China anyway, that person to person at the counter at the deli. I don't know if they have delis in China. I'll take a bagel with lox. No, I'm kidding.
And they have live markets, no delis.
No, but you know what I mean. And Stephanie, you travel a lot, and no matter what kind of tension we may have with France and Macron this and his wife that, and all that talk at the high level, people just don't, for the most part, bring that to the personal table when they're dealing with foreigners, right? And they tend to get along.
Yeah, no, France is a real good example. They aren't real crazy about us, right, Steph?
I haven't been there yet, and I'm honestly nervous about it. Yeah, I've heard it's not the friendliest of places. Yeah, I mean, most times I'm dealing with people that I know personally or professionally, and that are in business like I am and have an interest in politics, so I can talk to it. But just regular old street interactions, no. I will say, I think European, I mean, they pay a lot of attention to us. So, they will, I've had people ask me about politics or what I think about Trump or whatever.
But I mean, and then you bring it home. It's always amazing to me how policymakers, decision makers, political people, media create these artificial and hateful and vitriolic barriers between people. When's the last time you sat across from a table or at the checkout counter or whatever with a person who may even be a Black Lives Matter person? They may be someone. You go to the store and they've got the rainbow hair. You know what side of the fence they're on. You have a great relationship. They make your coffee. You have a conversation.
They make really good coffee.
you let someone go in line in front of you and they do the same for you? If you've got one item and they have a basket full, I've had people do that for me, and I've done that for them because I thought you just want those. We want those lines to disappear, don't we? Doesn't everyone really want that? I don't want to perpetuate division and difference. But it's the leadership and it's the media, and there's people that make a lot of money out of that. I mean, look at Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. They made fortunes out of division, and we see it with the BLM crowd. Look at the corruption and what did they build 1, 2, 3 houses with donations?
Antifa.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there used to be a time when we could disagree and disagree heartily, but it's descended now to where you can't even begin those discussions with most people because people come with a predetermined opinion of who you are and what you are, and frankly, in some cases, your human worth, just because you come from a different side of the aisle. Anyway, Trump seems to be getting along with Zelensky all of a sudden after the big blow up last year. He cozied up. He said, yesterday, the day before, everyone knows the president loved winners, said a source of knowledge. Right now, Ukraine is winning. So he's sort of on the side, it looks like you guys are doing pretty good. Now you're my best friend. People have told him Putin's winning. He's been thinking he's winning. He's not. Now Trump realizes, well, maybe I'm on the wrong horse right now, said Keith Kellogg, who was Trump's former envoy to Ukraine. And allegedly, they're eliminating 35,000 Russian troops every month. I can't believe that.
Fox News just reported they've had a whole new round of strikes from Ukraine on Russia's oil facilities and even hit a couple of oil tankers with drones. And now we're talking about the president has said he's going to give them license to build their own Patriot missiles.
They have amazing drone technology. I wasn't aware of that, but they've done a good job there. Maybe Secretary Hegseth could go over and, recruit a few Ukrainian drone engineers.
I think they've already worked with our side on cloning some of the Iranian drones that the Ukrainians have been at the kind of cutting edge of.
We were talking with Steve Bucci last segment. If you missed that, well, actually at 8 o'clock segment, if you missed that, and if you missed our discussion with Don Mayhew, Steve Bucci on Iran and Don Mayhew, Representative Mayhew on data centers, catch it later on the Wake Up Missouri podcast. That'll be up later. Right, Drake? When is later?
Well, later is whenever I get around to it.
Oh, well.
After the show ends.
Whenever Drake gets around to it. Okay, well, that's good. Well, later.
Yeah, later. I mean, I don't know. I don't like setting specific times for it. I mean, I like people refreshing the page like, oh, when are they going to post it?
Create anticipation. No.
That's it.
Oh, always.
I think that when it comes to these drone things and what to target, it would seem to me the first, second, and third target of our, intel and then attack should be the drone facilities, right? Those are the ones that are making the attacks. And then followed by the coastal missile and boat launches. They got missile launchers and they've got boat. Don't they have like boat docks? Go on.
Yeah. Well, there's speed boats that they have, and supposedly the ones that are left are in heavily protected bunkers, but we take out some of those every time.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And, Trump has talked about taking Karg Island out and owning it before. I'm thinking, why don't we put this saber rattling on the part of Oman and Iran working together to somehow control the Strait navigation? Why don't we just put that to an end and just occupy it and tell NATO, look, we're going to charge you a tariff if you don't help a part of this international mission to secure this very important global commodity named oil route. Period. Let's just do that. And if not, NATO, you think you were supporting a little more of your defense? Well, maybe you need to support all of it. Here's the timetable. How's that for the art of the deal? What are you laughing about?
It sounds like a Trump line for sure.
Well, he got Spain to pony up.
How's that for the art of the deal? It was very much like, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
There you go. With the went back and forth. Well, he got Spain to do it, to pony up, right? He said, we're pulling out any kind of support for you.
Well, to be fair, it was on their agenda to, boost their funding, but they had their nap in the middle of the day, and they just couldn't get around to it.
That's it.
Doesn't that frustrate you? Is that only Mexico? What other countries do they?
Spain does it.
Spain, yeah. When we were in Spain,
Southeast Asian countries are all about what they call POC time, which is taking a breather mid-afternoon.
I saw this article that I was going to ask you about, and I might have you try to break it down for me and make Missouri healthy again, because it was like the lost art of bifurcated sleep, and it had a better name than that. But it used to be a very popular habit like years ago. I'll find the article for you.
Well,
I thought maybe because now they always say a nap disrupts your sleep. And I'm like, I feel better for a nap. And they said historically, we always used to do that. We always used to take a nap and then get back up. And I think these people have it right.
Had a lot to do with the pre-air conditioning era when it was just too darn hot in the middle till late afternoon to do anything else.
No, there's some pretty good data that people that
this article.
Anything under 3 hours, right, Doc?
That's right. Helene can do that. My wife does that, and it really refreshes her. She'll take a 20. She says, boy, she's very precise about it. I'm going to take a 20-minute nap, and you might as well set the timer by it.
And then she comes out and does 2 hours on the exercise bike and an hour in the pool.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I got it wrong. Biphasic sleep, resting in 2 separate phases. You need to do your research and then report back to the class. I really want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
if medically it's a good idea.
Biphasic. Okay.
Biphasic sleep.
Wake up, Missouri.
Wake up. With a capital up, up, up. We'll be back with leftovers after this.
It's Wake Up
Thanks for being with us this and every day on Wake Up Missouri. 573-874-9390. The text line, 800-529-5572 to give us a call. What's on your leftover plate, Stephanie?
Well, Fiat is bringing teeny tiny little cars to the U.S. market. Apparently, they've already been over in Europe for some time, but their tiny electric Topolino is going to offer American buyers a 2-seat neighborhood EV that costs less than many used cars. It tops out at just 19 miles per hour. So you're not going very fast, but it also is cheap. It's like between $13,000 and $15,000. It kind of looks like a glorified golf cart. It's designed for use beyond crowded streets. I think at the time, right now, it's not street legal in most areas, but they said could be used in private neighborhoods, resorts, coastal areas, and golf cart friendly communities. It's about 8 feet long, weighs about 1,000 pounds, and gets up to 46 miles of range for its battery. But look, it looks like a little toy.
Yeah, it does. Oh my gosh.
And it only comes in one color, which is this cute little mint green.
It's like it should be in the circus.
Anyway.
They drive that over in Europe, huh?
You know, if you live in one of those areas, maybe you get a cute little car.
Is it gas or electric?
Electric.
Yeah. Probably has a pretty good range, even though it's slow.
It's a weird play for them to come over here. I mean, certainly there could be small markets for it, but I mean, it seems like Americans are getting bigger and bigger and bigger when it comes to their big trucks or their big SUVs, and this is kind of headed in the other direction. But
yeah, well, you're right. There will be folks who can use that, though.
Then again, most people don't have $80,000 for, a new SUV or truck.
Yeah.
So.
I just don't want to be in a crash with something that small. I mean,
which is why
it's like a sardine can.
Yeah.
It does look like a little Brio mobile.
I mean, it might be fun because I think if you hit, a truck like yours, I think you'd be airborne.
Yeah, you're right. You might just bounce off, become a projectile,
squash flat,
end out in the cornfield. John, what you have?
Well, you might want to feed the meter in downtown Jefferson City, or you may have to go by the ATM because published reports say the city's new private parking contractor has written almost 20% more tickets so far this year than in the first half of last year. And in Jefferson City, expired meter fines, which I can attest to, have jumped from $6 to $25, much like what they charge in Springfield. But I think Columbia and Cape are still down around the $10 to $15 range. But if you don't pay them off in a week or so, then you end up with all the court costs to boot. So pack the quarters.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
There might be a business for something analogous to a food truck, but a change truck. Like if someone was just walking around with of course, would you really want to walk? Well, I don't know, Jefferson City, pretty safe place, isn't it? Walk around with change and, making quarter change. Because that's my problem. I don't have quarters.
So I keep a bunch in my car.
You look in the cup holder, there may be something there, but I don't have it.
You can use the app, but the app's kind of like the gas pump these days where you got to log in. They got to ask you like 72 questions. What's your license plate? Where are you parked? Are you sure?
See, I like that.
Oh, I don't. It takes
Park Mobile app. I love that.
I would rather just put the quarters in. It takes so long.
Yeah, me too.
Let me explain to you how to use some of this technology stuff.
Like, if you travel a lot, I mean, I think once you park in the same location, hopefully it saves all your info, but every city seems to have a different parking app, and then you have to start over.
Well,
and
that's true.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I mean, if you, I don't know, it seems to work generally okay. Drake, you have anything going on?
Yeah, the Genesis Scottish Open is happening right now. I've become a golf guy. I started loving watching golf. Yeah, you can yawn all you want.
The Genesis, as in the car?
Yeah. It has a purse of $9 million, so it's not,
Scott chump change. Yeah.
Anyways, Tom Kim is in the lead right now. So he's the South Korean that was
We know
in contention.
a lot about Tom Kim.
Yeah, okay.
Randy and I were experts.
He's a stud, okay?
Let's do 2 segments on Tom Kim tomorrow. You want to do that?
How about
All
no?
right. I know everyone will tune in for that.
That'll be a no for me, dog.
McElroy, too, though.
All right. Oh, well, at least they're hopefully drinking some good scotch while they're over there. The liquor of kings. Back with more tomorrow.
Bye.